Hi, Annette with the Woolen Needle. We have a new sample that I want to talk to you a little bit about because, of course, you know me, I don't follow the pattern very well. That's just my nature. So the design we're working on is Dresden plate mat, and there was just a couple things I did a little bit differently than the pattern, and I wanted to share those with you. In your kit, you have 16 different little 2x5 pieces of wool. So all your little plates, you know, it's all different. So you are going to have to trace this shape 16 times. My nature is to find an easier way to do it. So what I did is I traced this shape on Heat and Bond Light fusible. Then I fused it to a piece of cardstock, and I had that fused on there, cut out my shape. So now, instead of tracing that 16 times, I could lay that harder cardstock and trace on my fusible paper 16 times instead of having to trace it this fashion and I was afraid I wouldn't be as accurate, and I knew these had to lay together properly. So that was just one little tip. The second thing in the pattern, it tells you to cut this shape out of wool. You make a template, you cut it out of wool. We prefer to use cotton on the back of our project, but instead of cutting the shape and hoping that all my points laid together in there properly, you know, that wasn't going to be a hard hit and miss. So I cut my cotton piece just in a big round circle. I fused my tongues together down to the background, and then I'll come back and trim those points after I do my stitching between these little tongues. I also chose to do a fly stitch instead of the blanket stitch that they recommended, because you would have had to stitch down this side, back up that side. It would have put 2 layers of thread in between. I just chose to use the fly stitch, so did that instead. Like I say, I'll come back now that I have all these stitched down, and I will just trim this away and come back and do my blanket stitch around this edge. And then I will come back and stitch my center circle on, and my project will be done. Yes, you do see your stitching on the back, but it's decorative. It's not like it's a bad stitch, and I did bury my thread tails underneath my wool. So just some tips for this project. Again, we have kits available. It's a design by All About You. It's called the Dresden plate.